Hey everyone, this is Ty with Spicy Exotics. The purpose of today's video is to show you how to protect your dragon fruit during the winter months. Or at least we're going to show you how we protect ours because we've had a few questions. And I want to say thank you to all our customers and our repeat customers for asking all great questions, which actually sparks the interest to create this video. So we love sharing our concepts. We've learned a lot over the years, and hopefully you don't have to go through our hardships of what we learned over time. So what you're looking at here in this greenhouse is 4 10-inch reflectors on each side of the greenhouse for a total of 8. Each reflector has a 250 watt bulb. We're using that for heat, not to help the dragon fruit grow, just simply for heat. And the reason why we use this, we've tried gas and we've also tried other sources of electrical heating, infrared, oil, and we chose this option. And the primary reason is, we'll look over here. Now this is a small ditch and there's water in it, and the thing about that, why I bring that up, is our water table here in South Louisiana is very, very high. So if you dig about 2 feet, you're gonna hit water. So when these covers are on and you apply a generous amount of heat, that moisture from this landscape fabric comes through here, and the moisture settles on the top of this greenhouse cover. Then at some point it creates droplets. By the way, the dragon fruit absolutely love those droplets. They love the humidity that it creates during that process, the hot and the moisture. It's ideal for those plants. And it's not ideal for heat. So it's very risky, very dangerous to have electrical sources of heat. So we opted to these reflectors, which help protect the lights. They do still explode. It's a maintenance process we go through by looking through the greenhouses on a regular basis to see what bulbs we need to replace. I'll cover a little bit more information about the bulbs and what we tried. One of the new things that we've done this year is we installed these relays. So these are wireless relays, as you can see here, very inexpensive. They can be controlled by your smart device. Right here is the thermostat. Oh, by the way, today is December 1st, and it's about 80 degrees here in South Louisiana. I would say about 3 weeks ago it dropped down to 29. Last week it was 36. So we're having some cold temperatures that they don't last. As the fronts push through, we get some cold weather, and then it doesn't seem to last very long. So back to this relay. We've installed these, and basically what this does is when the temperature drops to a certain temperature, it turns the electricity on, which turns these lights on. We simply did that for better control of, 1, knowing what temperature it is in each greenhouse, and 2, also to be able to turn the lights on and off even when the sun is out during the day, because we've had some major issues last year when our temperatures didn't rise above 25 degrees for over 72 hours. So all of our greenhouses were on photocells, and basically what that means is when the sun goes down, the lights would come on. Well, that didn't help me out during the daytime, and we lost a lot of plant material, and we don't want to do that again. So we installed these smart relays, and we'll take a closer look in this next greenhouse. Of what the setup looks like. So here's our power coming in. We had to install a few extra boxes here to splice some cables. This outlet is hot, and here's what that relay looks like. It's just the power going in and power going out to these different receptacles. It's wirelessly controlled, and it gets its signal from my home, which is here. And we take a closer look, and that's about 100 to 150 feet away. And each greenhouse is 12 by 25, and we have them back to back and side by side. So what we're looking at is about 50 by 100, and we have one of those smart relays in each greenhouse. Let's go take a closer look at a few of the other greenhouses and what we have going on. What these smart relays allowed us to do is to consistently check the temperature. And one of the things we experimented immediately was with different light bulbs. So here are some light bulbs we tried. Same 250 watts. They're heat lamps, as you can see. Here they are. And they perform nicely. However, we didn't find them to be any different. And I'll compare them to what we currently use prior to that, which is this light bulb. It's also a 250 watt incandescent light bulb. It's actually a 200 watt, but it's 130 volts, which is very convenient when you have your greenhouse is shaking and voltage fluctuation. So what we found is these 200 watt light bulbs, in comparison to these 250 watt light bulbs side by side with our relays, the inside temperature did not change in any of our greenhouses. In fact, these more expensive bulbs here, we had a few problems. When that moisture hit those bulbs, they exploded. So out of 8, I lost 2, and it hasn't been a week. Meanwhile, as we look into some of the other greenhouses, I still have some bulb failures here. The bulb didn't explode, and some of these bulbs are a little older, but I can tell you they seem to be a lot more reliable. And this is what the finished product looks like when it's all sealed up. And there's your temperature probe. So we experimented with a few different incandescent bulbs to see what our temperatures were, and basically we found that what we've been using is still the best method for us. Now, it may not be better for you in your region because your temperatures may not be similar to our temperatures. What brief explanation, our temperatures typically drop at its low point around 4 a.m. in the morning, and as soon as the sun rises, the temperatures begin to heat up in the greenhouses pretty quickly. It'll jump up 20 degrees in a very, very short period of time. And this is why. Which brings me to another area of controlling or helping your greenhouses. This is an open field. This is south facing, and this is the east. So the sun rises here, and there's nothing to really stop that sun when it comes out to heat these greenhouses. So that's really great. This is an afternoon video, so there's our sun And this is the north area of the house, which has some foliage that block the north fronts that typically pass through. But I don't have any protection here on this side. So one of the things that we'd like to do in the future is build a wall to help protect this side of the greenhouses, so it'll block that north wind. And that has a huge impact, because one of the things that we're seeing when it does get colder is that these inside greenhouses on this side are slightly warmer than these greenhouses on this side. And that's probably primarily because our temperature probes are on that side of the wall where the wind is hitting and where that cold air is hitting. This is our purple flesh greenhouse. Plants are doing really, really well. As you can see here, we have new growth on just about all the varieties, so they're really liking it. And positioning of your plants is critical, and not many people have much choice. We did not take that into consideration when we put our greenhouses here, but I want to show you something else that's pretty remarkable. And that's these plants. They've been sitting out here. These are just random varieties. They got mixed up. We didn't know what they were, so we threw them in a bucket. Some of them are a few years old. I also am experimenting here on the side of the house. We'll take a closer look. If you can see, there are some plants in buckets there. As I mentioned earlier, temperatures this year have dropped to 29 degrees, and it has gotten below 38 degrees multiple times. All of those plants were out and exposed. They did fine. Why? Because of microclimates. We have a water oak here that protects that tree. We have a house with a warm brick that the sun heats up the brick in the morning, generates heat next to those plants, and also blocks that north wind. And one last thing I want to show you is something else we're going to try here. And this is 16 mil, not really bubble wrap, but this is a pool heater, solar heater for a swimming pool. It's very large, and we're going to wrap the tops of our greenhouse with it to help with holding in that heat. Hopefully that'll keep some of our heat in, because all of this electricity that we use to keep our plants warm, it's working and it's worth it. However, it does come at a cost. We had our lights on last year. Prior to us moving here, the plants were here, but I didn't live here, and they were the lights were running 12 hours a day, and when I got my electricity bill, it was over $500. So although it's worth it for the plants, that's kind of expensive. And the lights are running, and they really didn't need to run. So here's a smart way to control your lights, is with something like this. And so far it's new, but it's working very well for us. Of course, if you live close by and you want to turn your lights on and off manually, that's fine. I do travel, and the convenience of me being able to see what the temperatures are and being able to turn the lights on and off is very valuable to me. We'll take a closer look at that circuit one more time. And we brought in a sub panel, and this is where we get our electricity. Take a look at that. So each of these are 20 amp breakers. Each greenhouse has a breaker for it, and like I said, each of the lights, 8 lights will draw about 15 amps. So your breaker should be in good shape. You want to make sure you use the correct wire gauge whenever you're running your electrical. It's very, very important. 10 gauge is ideal. You can get away with 12 gauge wire. And by us having wireless out here, this is going to enable us to do some other neat devices in here that we have planned for the future, which is really, really exciting. We also get the question asked, Ty, why don't you leave your greenhouse covers on year round? And the problem is, right now these greenhouses are about 90 degrees, and like I said, it's in December, so it creates a tremendous amount of heat, and it would burn the plants. In addition to that, I don't like using tap water for our plants. Rainwater's best. So that's why we pull the covers off as quickly as we can, and we only use it to hold in the heat. And since it's December 1st, we'll take a closer look at a couple of varieties here that are giving us some fruit. My experience is fruit this time of year is the best. Why? Because it stays on the vine longer, and that gives it more sugar and a better tasting fruit. This is a yellow Thai. Fruit's not quite ready yet, but an amazing tasting fruit. We don't have much fruit going on right now, so this won't take very long. And here in our white flesh greenhouse, we have a nice, as you can see here, Maui Dragon. It makes a beautiful fruit. Great choice for white flesh fruit lovers. This variety was picked up in Maui, and this is new. I didn't know this was here. I just noticed it. That's a Thompson variety. And further back we have a few more fruit. Maybe zoom in on here. You can see that. So we'll continue to test a few different options. We're going to lay that solar blanket over the top here to help keep that heat in when we do need it. We're going to let these bulbs burn out. By the way, when they explode, they make a mess. So they're not nearly as bad as the other light bulbs that we use. And you're looking at double the cost. I don't see the value in going with something like this versus something like this. These bulbs are a lot more forgiving, these incandescent bulbs, because any light bulb, once it gets moisture on it, the likelihood of it going bad is high. But with these heat bulbs, the fact that it's been less than a week and I've already lost 2 bulbs, I don't think it's going to be a reliable source, especially if we're out for weeks at a time and we can't check on everything. Typically the winter months, for us. Our maintenance free. We leave the greenhouses closed and the plants stay dormant, and we check on them in the springtime. Maybe checking on them once or two a month. That's once or twice a month. And that about wraps up our video. If you have any questions, please post. We'll do our best to answer. And please take into consideration, our winners aren't like your winners, but if you can take anything away from what we've told you today or have any more questions, we'll be more than happy to share with you our knowledge of what we've learned. And once again, thanks to all our customers for suggesting or asking questions about our greenhouses. And we appreciate the repeat business. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you in the next video.